Hey, this is Matthew Baxley. This is the final week of Topics in Entrepreneurship. So, as an introduction, at the start of this class, I really thought entrepreneurship was mainly about having a strong idea and, really wanting to work hard to that idea. But what I've learned from this class is that successful entrepreneurship is more about building a system, having a system where branding, pricing, people, and financing all, work together to create a long-term value is really the main goal and the best way to have success. My main takeaway is that entrepreneurship really isn't about starting a business. It's about building an asset that can keep itself up and eventually create an exit value. And that's going to lead to the best success. So for this assignment, I'm going to break down the three lectures, 4 videos, and I'm going to put it in the format where I talk about the lecture and mix it in with the video. So I'll start with lecture. I'm going to mention lecture 6. I'm going to start with lecture 6. We talked about how business fund growth. So in this lecture, we learned about how traditional bank loans, credit unions, SBA-backed loans, and lending. This lecture also broke down the SBA 7A loans and the SBA 504 and a little bit of microloans. And it showed how each serves very different uses in business, but how they're all very needed. And this is connected directly to the interview with Kathleen Kelly for this one, where Kathleen, she explains how the SBA supports banks lending by providing guarantees when there is a collateral shortfall that comes into place. And this showed with SBA programs that, they basically enable banks to lend responsibility while managing the risk of, the bank and lending money or whatever. And also bad financing decisions will, they're going to eliminate exit opportunities. That's just the truth. These banks don't want to make bad financing because it's going to eliminate what they have to be able to get out. So my next lecture I chose lecture 3. So in lecture 3, we learned a lot about how small business owners struggle with pricing, mainly because of self-doubt. They don't really kind of value themselves high enough. But price directly reflects brand positioning. If you price too low, people are going to look at your quality and be like, well, that's very weak. But if you price correctly and you price confidently, you're going to be able to strengthen your brand, and people are going to look at your brand in a different way. And this connected Trevor. I picked Trevor for this one from Flourish. So this one connected to Trevor's interview, where he talked about understanding his competitive advantage and charging based on value rather than fear of losing customers. What Trevor experienced with his choices really highlighted, lecture 3's main message to me, that pricing confidence really supports brand strength, and that brand strength overall is going to support profitability and, how much money you're making. So next lecture, lecture 4. Lecture 4, we learned that hiring employees adds payroll taxes, compliance requirements, documentation responsibilities, and management challenges. That's a lot, but I really thought this one was a good one to choose. And so this lecture really emphasizes raising prices before hiring to absorb, labor costs, to be able to kind of set your bases before you start. This lecture also really highlighted also the importance of proper documentations and understanding the difference between 1099 contractors and W-2 employees. And this really stood out to me from the lecture, and I really thought, once again, that this would be something that fits really well with Neely and Alyssa, who I chose to do for the video. So, like I said, this was reinforced with interviews with Neely and Alyssa. Both of these women discussed the real challenges that they face of managing employees and performance expectations to be able to maintain their boundaries in their workspace, just be able to maintain what they have. And their experiences really showed that people management is one of the toughest parts of entrepreneurship. And this one really stuck out to me, and really seems like it's very difficult. But Neely and Alyssa did a great job, in my opinion, of being able to manage these in their successful businesses. And as a conclusion, this course, it really changed how I think about business. I definitely had an idea coming in, but really changed how I thought. Entrepreneurship, it's not about working for yourself at all. It's about building something structured, disciplined, and something that you can keep going. And after this class, I am inspired, but I don't just feel inspired, you know, on entrepreneurship, but I know now how the system works, and I'm very excited to venture more into it. And it's something that really kind of appeals to me, and I'm very, very grateful that I took this class and learned a lot. Thank you.